our students. Yes.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well.
When they have it
Good.
in Grantville.
Hey, how you doing? Good, very good.
That's Julie doing it.
Enjoying retirement.
Yep.
Yep, she's
It's great.
taken to it instantly.
Oh, shucks, another day I don't have to go to work.
Do we need to wait till?
You have got
2
minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
All right.
Since they're streaming it and recording it, we
figured we'd
probably
better
need to wait till
Wait
9.
till it's time.
Are we not expecting Bob today?
He'll be late.
Oh, okay, okay.
Doesn't help her, but.
We don't know how late. He'll be
Okay,
late.
that's fine, just.
I'll actually be prepared for tomorrow, because I thought it was today.
All right, it's 9.
It's ready?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Bill Rippon, County Commissioner, and I'm with Commissioner Cook today. Bob will be here a little bit later this morning, but we're going to start our budget hearings. At night, our first budget we're going to be listening to is the Extension Council. That's at 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock we'll do the health access. 11 o'clock TARC. 1 o'clock we'll be doing the health department. 2 o'clock Safe Streets, and 3:30 CRC Aging Social Services. But on deck right now, Cindy Evans from the Extension Council. You're on.
Very good. Good morning, Commissioners, and on behalf of the Shawnee County Extension Council and my staff, I would like to express our thanks to the County Commission for your ongoing support for our programs. The collaboration that we've got between the county and Kansas State University allows us to deliver educational programs that lead to changed behaviors in individuals and improve conditions in our communities. When we were here in May, we shared some of our highlights then about our program impacts, which included increased profitability for farmers, ranchers, and small businesses, improved physical and financial health for our county patrons, and examples of leadership exercise by volunteers for 4-H, Master Gardeners, Pride, volunteer income tax assistance, and family community education groups. Extension educators are truly change agents. People can know information, but not everyone can teach and inspire people to make changes. At this time, I would like to introduce my staff, members of the board with us, and also a few guests who will be speaking on our behalf later in the presentation. The agents with us today, if you'll stand, Leroy Russell is our Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent. Ariel Whiteley-Knoll is our Horticulture Agent, and Candace Mirpool is our 4-H Agent. We are missing 2 today because they're doing a program. Lisa Martin, our registered dietitian that supervises the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program, and Susan Fangman, our Family Consumer Sciences Agent, are teaching an all-day program. So I'll let them sit. And then members of the board with us today, we've got Amy Miller, who is Secretary of the Board and will be speaking on our behalf after a bit. And I see that Laura Moore is with us as well, and Linda Croucher, who are both members. Thank you, board members. Then some of the guests that are with us today, we've got, I'll start in the back. Age before beauty, right? I have no. The Dakes will stand. RJ and Angela Dake are owners of Hidden Hill Farms. And then we've got Austin Stahl, who's a 4-H'er, is going to be speaking to us, and his dad has shepherded him today, Alan, which I'm sure many of you know. Since we talked about programs in May, today I'm going to focus my comments on our budget needs and then have the guests speak on our behalf. So the budget requests that we have turned in for 2020, many of the line items are things that have not changed very much, like our audit bond, telephone, the rent, heat, and lights. Luckily, many of those things we are able, as we look for grant dollars, to supplement our programmatic needs. In fact, the agents have been very successful in even finding partners who will pay for our training, pay for our overnight stays, you know, the per diem and the things like that. So I gave you a 3-page detailed sheet so you could see how every agent is really after finding in-kind donations and real dollars. And this year, that amounted to almost $103,000. So a very significant portion of what allows us to move that budget forward. In addition, the volunteers that I identified just a minute ago of 4-H, Master Gardeners, VITA, Dover and Rossville Pride volunteers, as well as Family Community Education, volunteered over 25,000 hours, valued at over $600,000. So that also helps us to expand our program. So where our needs are really focused this year are in a couple of categories, actually 3 categories. The first one is salaries and wages. I have asked for about a 2.89% increase overall on the part that the commission provides, so that's a total of $17,252, and you're going to see a significant portion of that on our salary and wage line and on the employee benefit line. In fact, the employee benefit line, I'm estimating almost an 8% increase. I'm sure that that is probably no different than when you're seeing at the county level, but there's 2 things that really drive that. The obvious one is the increased cost in healthcare costs itself, but the other is increased participation. In my many years, you know, here with Extension and doing financial information, you know, in my program as a family consumer sciences agent, one of the things that we see with insurance is that I'd say a few years back, it was very common to see many people carry the plan for their whole family, you know, for their spouse and their family. So what the state of Kansas tells us, and it affects both the state plan as well as the non-state plan that our council members are enrolled in, is that spouses cost more than the employees themselves. And so they have put a much higher cost on the premiums that for anybody who's carrying their spouse on the plan. So where we might have had some people who were being carried by a spouse, now I would expect next year that every single employee that we have that can be covered under our plan will be covered under our plan. That instead of maybe being on a spouse's plan, they're back being on our plan. And that's just, you know, the way of the world. But we used to have a little bit more leeway, and so those 2 things are driving that employee benefit line. We had made some changes a couple years ago. I know Commissioner Cook has been here long enough to hear me say this, but Commissioner Rapon has not. That as we had some turnover in staff, we actually took a position, divided it in half so that it wasn't benefits eligible. We've tried to make some changes like that, but truly, you know, if we value staff, we find that providing employee benefits is a very critical draw in getting a qualified applicant pool. Then the last piece is related to equipment, and that's just next year I'm going to have a need to replace some of the computers in our office. We are typically on a rotation, but the last 2 years, we've been replacing county vehicles. We replaced one last year, and we're replacing the second one this year. And so it draws away almost all the resources on that line, while we do that. Yesterday, we had a computer go down in the back, and we replaced that 2010 CPU with a 2011, and hope that, as we replace the ones in the agent offices are newer than that, so I don't want to allude that every computer in our office is that old. But we do hold on to them as we try to replace them, and that we have not replaced any of those in the last couple of years. So that will be the other piece on my line that is higher, is that we're needing to replace equipment. So I did want to just end with noting that Kansas State University remains a very strong financial partner for us. I provided for you a one-page sheet that showed their total commitment, and this is not actually everything because they don't include the administrative costs, but it's $492,452. So Kansas State University contributes to agent salaries as well as a portion of the benefits. And if you saw the sheet, I'll take it out so you can kind of see the one that I'm alluding to here. So that's going to be about $112,000 by my easy math. The benefits and salary for Lisa Martin is about $81,000. The benefits and salary for the nutrition assistants is another $164,000. We have a grant through SNAP-Ed, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, $46,000. That pays for Brenda Jarbo, who's a community garden coordinator, and so those kinds of efforts. And then you'll see a little bit of new agent professional development. Ariel's actually our newest agent on board, and so that's the support that they help pay for travel and lodging and things when we have new agents, because K-State's really invested in getting them well-trained so they don't get overwhelmed with the system and leave us early in their careers. And then it's got the regional office support and technical support. So that is the information I wanted to share about the budget. Do you have any specific questions about that before I ask some of our guests to speak on our behalf?
You. Go ahead.
Your in-kind contributions and the 102,000 that you were able to raise last year is very impressive, but are these able to be tax deductible as the K-State Extension, or are these just gifts that people have given?
Some of them are grants, so they are not taxed as they come into us. Some of it comes from foundation, and so they're a 501c3 and support money over to us. When something comes in as a donation through the foundation, that can be deducted on their tax return.
Okay.
Things that come directly to the Extension Council cannot. And so if it is important to a donor that they are able to use that as a tax write-off, then the contribution comes to the foundation, and then we turn it back to programs. Because that's the purpose of the Extension Foundation, is to support extension programs.
Okay, all right. I just asked because I know that there are, for instance, computer companies within Topeka that have given charitable donations to other social service organizations it's a win-win. I mean,
Yes.
the charitable organization gets a new computer, and then that entity also gets a tax benefit. So I didn't know if that was something that you are structured, but if you have it through the foundation, that may be something to look into.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner.
I had a question about, from K-State. You have 86,600 in indirect contributions. What exactly is that?
Okay, so they mentioned the two, regional support office. All of us are divided into 4 areas of the state, and so we're in the northeast area of the state. So there is an area director who comes out and does our performance reviews, or if I have any kind of a problem with personnel, I can go to him, and it can just be problems with budget, I need advice. But they also have, at that area level then, programmatic specialists. So there's a family consumer sciences specialist, 4-H, and agriculture housed in each of the area offices. So they are taking that area staff and then dividing up the cost to, because we can't, we contact them for help on programmatic things. So that's the in-kind contribution. Then technical support, all of our IT support is coming through K-State. So when I have a problem, we call K-State, they remote into our computers, help us fix it. Probably 3 to 4 days a year, they are out all day in our office. We keep a laundry list of technology problems that we're having. But all of our data is backed up to K-State server every day. And so we back up as well so that we always have, more than one option. But that's the IT support that's being attributed.
Okay. The other question I had was on our heat and light. We have 27,500. This is one of your larger expenditures. Is that some kind of agreement you have worked out with the Expo Center, the Stormont Vale?
This is not rent for our main facility because years ago, you used to put a larger amount on our line, then we just turned it right back and paid for our rent. This is rent of other facilities. Every time we use the Expo Center, we have to pay rent. So when we are down there from Farm to You, for the horse show, clinics, all those kinds of things, we also pay a portion of Paw Prints, our dog project, meets at another location. So the largest portion of that, I'd say probably 18,000 gets paid back to Stormont Vale Event Center for events that we host there. But the others help us pay for rent when we have to go to an off-site location for a program. We get a lot of it in kind, at least we ask. I tell you, we have all learned to ask. We'll take free anytime they'll give it to us, or a discounted rate, but there are times that we do have to pay rent.
Commissioner, just to clarify for your benefit, their offices is attached to Manor Conference Center.
Right.
So their offices are not part of the Stormont Vale Event Center. They're part of that building that's Manor, which is county-owned.
So
It's not part.
This pays for any rent, really, of what you're
Yeah.
getting from the.
If we
event
have an
center.
annual meeting and we go out to the Shawnee County, one of the places like at Reynolds Lodge, we pay rent, for that.
My last question, I guess, is, could you give me a little more information about the SNAP Ed program?
Yes, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, so that is funded through food stamps. So USDA dollars that are drawn down to Kansas State University, and from there, there are grants available that come out to the county. So I would say the first time we drew on that, I was the FNEP agent, so I'm going to go back about 20 years ago, is when we started. It was called Family Nutrition Program Grants. And I know that very first grant was for $40,000. So through the years, we've been getting grants through them since that time, of varying amounts. There is no county contribution there. So truly, I'd say that's a real gift to our community of a completely funded program that comes in, and what they're doing is nutrition education to limited resource families. That one is, with a SNAP Ed one now, has a nutrition focus and that community garden focus, because what we're seeing, the whole ecosystem in the community, that as we get people to garden and to grow fresh produce, they're more likely to try to put it on the table at home. And it even goes the span of, food preservation as well. So I asked Brenda yesterday, she said that she is helping support 30 community gardens.
Okay, thank you.
I have a few questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
First of all, under your receipts, you show Kansas State as $67,678. Is that cash receipts coming in, or is that money they have spent for this salary you have down here?
That's the salary amount that we expect. Mhm.
Okay, and they pay, how many positions are K-State positions?
6.
Okay, so this is not including that, or is that?
It does, that's if you look at the sheet from Kansas
Right.
State University,
Yeah.
It's the exact same amount there,
Right.
okay.
But that's just for one position, right?
No, that's their portion. They're paying a portion of the position, so they
Oh.
bill us.
Okay.
They bill us for a portion of those salaries.
So of these 5 positions, they only pay a portion of it. They don't pay all
That's
of
right,
it.
that's right. Mhm.
Okay, so,
In fact, they have a formula, so it's about, this is ballpark because I didn't update it from last year, it's about 18,000 for the first 2 agents, and then it reduces after that. And that's because most counties in the state are 2-agent counties. It's just the urban counties that have more. And then after that, it's about 10,800 for the next ones.
so as salaries have increased over the year, have they increased that?
No,
They have not. So
No,
their
it used to be-
portion stays the same regardless of the salaries you're paying.
I wouldn't say it stays the same. It goes up with, up and down with issues with tuition dollars. So,
Okay.
it's
But
coming.
they're not necessarily looking at, a 3% increase,
No,
so they
no.
don't increase their portion.
No.
Okay.
I believe that it's possible that amount might increase by as much as 2% this year because of the money that has been approved by the legislature to Kansas State University, and I believe that some of that may sweep to us, but at the time that I've made this, I don't have
Yeah.
a firm figure on that.
Okay, I just wasn't certain how that.
Yeah, no.
And I was mistaken. I thought that 5 of these agents were paid by K-State, just a portion.
A portion,
Okay.
and that's the formula that I identified.
And they just get a formula. It's not based on any
The formula stays the
salary,
same. No,
tier,
no, no.
salary information.
No.
Okay. Okay.
They do pay for 100% of our retirement for the agents. So the portion that they're putting in towards our retirement with TIAA-CREF is completely picked up. That part does not get billed in any way to us.
Okay. Mr. Cook, you have any other?
No. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Okay, let me bring up, Austin, would you like to go first?
Go first.
Okay.
Did you know that is it working? Did you know that over 865 Kansas youth have competed in the Kansas Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge this year at the state level? I am one of those Kansas youth. Hi, my name's Austin Stahl. I am going to be a freshman at Seaman High School this year. I attended my first 4-H meeting when I was 11 years old. Soon after this, I became involved in many projects and participating in many events. To this day, I am involved in projects such as leadership, entrepreneurship, cattle showmanship, and many more. I am now the owner of Free State Unmanned Aerial Systems. We were founded in 2018 to form a 4-H countywide project called Projects to Profits. In the end, I won the intermediate division at the local level. In 2019, this year, I participated in the Kansas Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, or YEC. YEC is a competition in which I had to create and develop a business plan, executive summary, and for submission. Gave a 3-minute elevator pitch and talked to a simulated board of directors. I decided to use my existing business concept from 4-H, Projects to Profits, Free State UAS, and changed it from the design build of unmanned aerial systems business to a service-based model. In the end, I ended up receiving an honorable mention and receiving $1,000 and cash prize for $250 for making it to the state fair competition. This challenge taught me about how to come up with new concepts and how to develop them. This experience taught me to be a better public speaker, how to have business ethics, business acumen, and more about my favorite topic, unmanned aerial systems, or UAS. These are skills that I will benefit from in school, long into my future career, and beyond. But most importantly, starting a business that will go to benefiting the community and pushing Shawnee County into a new economic position. This program is needed for our sustained community growth to provide new opportunities to new businesses, popping up with the intent invent new ideas and provide new services, changing Shawnee County into a multifaceted economy. with not only increased agricultural output, but also increased industrial and commercial output. I am looking forward to competing at the countywide competition next year. Now, do you have any questions for me?
Thank you very much. That's a tough act to follow.
I try.
That's why I had to go first. I'll invite the Dakes up. RJ and Angela Dake are owners of Hidden Hill Farms, and they've used Extension services in a couple of different ways, so I'll just let them identify that.
Well, I think everybody understands that information is power and information is money when you need information to make things change. So when we came back in 2015, we purchased a farm that needed a lot of help. And as a head, heart, hands, health kid, 4-H kid, I had some awareness of the availability of information that would come from the extension people. When I was growing up, it was a matter of how much money you could use to make the world flat, how much you could pour to kill all the insects that were bugging you, how much money was involved in fertilizing, and all of those things. Well, when we came back, we did not have a lot of money. The thing that we did need to do was to make things efficient, and we needed to make good choices with the monies that we did have to spend. So one of the first stops that we made were to resources that not only had the information, like Leroy and his team and the entire team down there, but they also were willing to tell us who could give us information if they in fact could not do it. So one of the first places was soil testing. We have a pond on our farm, and the pond was a little scummy, a little bit of a mess. We don't need to put a lot of fertilizer in a lot of places necessarily to get the benefit of the grasses that we have. And by reducing the way in which we fertilized, that helped that a little bit. By making sure that our growth was good around different areas, that helped make sure that we had the clean ponds, that we didn't spend the money, and that we had better production on the areas where we did spend. So with that, we looked at noxious weed controls, we looked at grazing management, we looked at different production pieces. Angela will talk a little bit more about food safety and food needs for the area, specific to the area, and the efforts that we've made through those. But all of these things have come through information that has been provided through these teams. 40 years ago, when I left the farm as a young man, it was very different. I did understand that these were people who would be able to help us look at different ways of dealing with things, and that was something that was very beneficial to us. So in our changes, a lot of things have come, a lot of good has come from working with these people. So Angela's got some things as well.
Thank you, RJ.
Hi, I'm Angela, and I was not raised in farming. I was a city girl, so I've been a farmer for about 3 years. So clearly, I was like, okay, I've got to find someone to help me, because I could just ask RJ so many questions, and then, you know, I needed to go find some more help beyond what he was able to answer. He was very, very busy in the reclamation and the restoration of the land, as we had purchased a very neglected farm that probably hadn't had much attention in about 40 years. And so, again, Leroy and his team were just so wonderful in providing the information necessary for the parts that RJ was focusing on. So I focused on food production, and we were able to get a grant for a high tunnel. And we placed a high tunnel, which is a very, very tall, large greenhouse, which enables Kansas farmers in particular, and farmers in the Midwest who deal with heavy winds and severe rain and, you know, all the kind of extremes that the Midwest has to offer with its weather, a way to get crops, food table crops to survive. And so my first season growing last year, I depended heavily on the Extension Office to tell me, is this a good bug or a bad bug? Can I plant these two plants together? Will they draw the same bad pests? So they gave me a really helpful understanding of how to implement companion planting, choose the correct plants for the environment, manage bug control, and also figure out how to, know when the plant was ripened to get it off the, vine or whatever. I was just, incredibly inexperienced with that. Aside from that, we wanted to develop, some agritourism on the property, and there's a 2,500 square foot house that we have turned into like a retreat center and a place to go for some small events and for lodging. And so this past winter, Cindy Evans got a hold of me and said, we have a business boot camp that you've been nominated to go and, get some benefit from. And I'm like, sounds great, I'll do it. And it was an absolute game changer in terms of not only just figuring out how to market the house, the guest house, but also my profit margin went up hugely on the vegetable production. Last year, my break-even point was in August, and I was able to move about 40% of my actual crops. I struggled a lot with, should I go to the farmer's market? How do I get my food distributed to people? And that kind of thing. And this boot camp really helped me understand distribution, how to get the product to people, how to market the farm, how to give it its image, and to actually get the food to people and to get it on their tables. And I'm right now distributing 90% of the food that I'm growing. It's actually getting to where it needs to go. My break-even point was at the end of May. And so I'm able to hire help so that I can be more effective as a farm manager and not do all the work myself, which was becoming, pretty crazy and impossible. But even more exciting, I've sort of unlocked the secrets, so to speak, of social media as a sales tool. And it's just been an absolutely wonderful thing. Last year I just didn't feel like I could go to the farmer's market and do all of that myself and move all of the product and stand there and move it all back. And, I was going in the hole, with all of that strategy. And so this year I created a harvest club on social media, and I put out, would you like to be on the list to receive whatever vegetables are coming, that are ripe and ready to harvest? I have a $10 bundle, a $15, and a $20 bundle, and you can just tell me which price range you'd like, and I will figure out a way to get it to you. And immediately I had 25 people sign up within like a 48-hour period of time. And I have a list of about 15 that are on the waiting list for food. So now I sort of have a reverse situation. It's like, well, I'm just waiting for it to ripen, and I'll call you as soon as I can. And so that has really been a direct result of the benefit of this boot camp that Cindy was able to get me into. So the agriculture part of our farm is the primary important thing to us. We want to be able to offer quality food, just quality in everything that we do, and to actually get it onto people's tables. And then the venue part of that kind of stems out to come on to the farm and enjoy the beauty of nature, the wonder of being able to grow food, and just enjoy the agriculture, the culture of agriculture. And so I have a great amount of appreciation for the County Extension Office and all that they've provided to us to move quickly and efficiently through this very short time frame that we've had the farm and my very tall learning curve. Yeah.
And I would add in support of Angela's note about educating, the one thing that we noticed as teachers for 35 years or longer was that there is a big disconnect between kids in populated communities and the rural areas. And opportunity for that through 4-H, through the work that they do there, and also through farms and agritourism and so forth, I think is a game changer, because we should not in Topeka, Kansas, have kids who do not understand food production that is happening all around them, and we do. And the opportunity is very large for us to grow in those thoughts.
You have any questions for us?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we'll conclude with a few comments from Amy Miller, who's speaking on behalf of the board.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Amy Miller. I'm currently serving as the Secretary of the Shawnee County Extension Board. I'm also a Master Gardener. I know that us Master Gardeners, we put in a lot of time, and we really love this community. I know that you see the hours that we reflect, that actually gets put into our Master Garden programs, but what that does not reflect is what we're actually out doing in the community, because I know I'm helping my neighbors. As a realtor, I am bending over and weeding so many yards this year, making sure it looks perfect, but what that turns into is it's selling for top dollar, and what that turns into is property taxes. And so, and what that also doesn't show is, I mean, all the gas that we're spending to go to these different places to go ahead and get all this done. And Extension for me has always turned into the education that I can get, what I can learn, how I could volunteer, but then how can I pass this information on to others. And what we have found out with the Master Gardeners is this year, our response line, which answers questions for the community, is currently up 63%. That was done by utilizing and analyzing when was the community calling in, when were they needing our services, and how can we get them the information faster and better, and whether or not we email them or send it out to them. And we see quite a few of the people calling back in because they know that the information they get from us is research-based. It's one of those things that we get them. We don't necessarily tell them that they have to be organic. We don't tell them that they have to use chemicals. We give them the information, and then they are able to make those decisions for themselves. And then if they have any questions, they can come back to us. The community gardens, as Cindy represented, we are up 30%. And that isn't just us alone. We're using our partners with Topeka Common Ground, and then we also have the SNAP Ed, which you had asked about. Seed. They helped us with the seed distribution. And what that is doing is it's allowing us with the different areas in the urban areas that don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, we're getting those community gardens into where, and Ariel was just saying that we haven't had any vandalism, but we do have some produce that's sneaking off. And you know what? That's great. That means that that's getting into the homes, and we're doing our purpose. You know, as I said, we're getting those fruits and vegetables into those homes, and they are getting eaten. And with the Cultural Health grant that Lisa was able to write for us to preserve it in the proper way so everybody does stay healthy, but they're also to save their dollars and be able to eat it further in the year. Susan also, with her volunteers, prepped 6,156 tax returns this last year. And with that, that is helping low-income families in order to get those tax returns done. And then they're also counseling on the Medicare as far as giving them the information, how is it best for them to sign up and what to sign up for. Leroy, of course, everybody knows Leroy, but it's one of those things that in the farm show, we had 30,000 people that came into Shawnee County to attend it. But with that, we also manned to make sure that the farmers that came to that, if they had any questions about their weeds, their crops, maybe they needed to change things for more profitability, we manned a booth to be able to make sure that they were able to ask those questions. And Candace, of course, is she's teaching those leaders of tomorrow. And one of the things that I really respected about Austin's presentation was the fact that when he did his presentation last year, I know Bob Archer was asking about the drones. His presentation talked about drones, about how he could get a light over a field, whether or not there was some type of accident, or whether or not it was one of those things that they had cattle that were birthing in the middle of the night, or that could be as much as for volunteer fire departments, being able to have a drone that has a bright light if they have some type of building collapse due to tornado, being able to get over, see what the situation from above, and be able to move forward as far as what is the best plan of attack to get people out from those collapsed buildings. So, and currently, from what he was finding out, there wasn't drones that had that high power of lights to be able to do that type of information. So anyway, we are showing that we have about 25,407 volunteer hours, but I think that really doesn't touch really everything else what the volunteers, that's just what they're doing for extension, but also what they're also out doing in the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our presentation today. Thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, staff. All right.
Business cards.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you so much. Yes. Appreciate it. And so Dan for bringing us over there.
And you wrote it out.